Hey guys, so today I'll be sharing with you my kitchen deep cleaning routine. I'm really excited for this video. It's been highly requested and we have a lot of work to do, so let's get started. I love starting my morning with a cup of coffee, and of course I spilled it all over the counter while filming. But the first thing I'm going to jump into is just unloading my dishwasher. I run my dishwasher at night, every night, no matter how full it gets. This just helps to keep me on track for the next day, and I'm just going to put away all my dishes where they belong in their cabinets. At this point, I'll put my glasses from the night before as well as any breakfast dishes into the dishwasher and just kind of load it as I go throughout the day. Now I'm going to start cleaning my cabinets using the hottest water I can possibly stand and a good splash of vinegar. I just like to use a rag for this and start by clearing off my counters while that kind of cools down to where I can handle it. I like the water to be really hot, but just take everything off of your counters, and then I like to go straight to my stove and I take off all the burners, all the knobs. My stove can get like pretty gross pretty quickly, so I just fill up the sink with some hot water and Crud Cutter. This is an amazing degreasing solution and I hate scrubbing, so I found that this is the best way to kind of get off all that dirt and grime that has built up on my burners. So I'll just let that soak, and while that soaks in the water, I'll mix myself up a little baking soda and vinegar solution. I just kind of like to mix this into a little bit of a paste, and then I'll go onto my stove top with a sponge and just give it all a really good scrub down. And I make sure to scrub the face of the stove as well as any little cracks that may have been missed from the last cleaning. And then I just take a solution of vinegar and water and I like to spray this all over my stove. The paste is kind of on the drier side, so I need a little bit of extra vinegar just to get off those stubborn stains. And then I use my wet rag that's soaked in the vinegar water just to wipe everything down and make sure that it's nice and clean. Next, I'm going to start cleaning the inside of my stove, starting by taking out the racks and putting those to the side. And then I like to clean the inside of my oven using baking soda. I just sprinkle it all over the door and just kind of shake it up the walls. This surprisingly works really well. It doesn't look like it would, but it does, and this is what helps to keep my oven clean all week long. I just like to spray it down with vinegar and water and then let that kind of bubble up and break down all the stuff that's burnt on in the oven. And then while that's sitting in there, I like to spray my stove down with the vinegar and water spray and just use that same wet rag to just kind of wipe it all down and make sure it's all nice and clean. And then once that baking soda and vinegar solution has been sitting on for about 10 minutes, I'll just go through with a wet sponge and scrub down the inside of my stove. I like to do this on a every other weekly basis just to keep my stove from getting overly like gunked up, and I don't really like the smell of when I self-clean my oven, so this just helps from having to really put a ton of extra elbow grease into it or self-clean. I just like to spot clean it every week or two and just kind of keep up on it while I can. And then after that's all done, I'll go over to my sink and rinse off my burners, all my knobs, everything like that, and set them to dry on a clean kitchen towel. Next, I'm going to take the racks from the inside of my oven and do my best to fit them in the sink. They're a little bit big, so this is a little bit awkward, but I just kind of fit them in there as I can, and then I spray them down both sides liberally with Crud Cutter. This is an amazing degreasing solution, and I let this sit on there for about 10 minutes, and then I'll come back with the rough side of my sponge and scrub them all down. Now, for whatever reason, this one that I'm cleaning right now wasn't nearly as bad as one behind it, so the rough side of my sponge did a pretty good job of getting off all the grime on this one. So just give it a rinse and then let it dry on another towel. And then on the other one that I'm about to do, it took a little bit more effort. I think this is one of the ones that's a little bit on the dirtier side. I might actually need to go back after this and give it a second cleaning, but I went through with my rough sponge and that didn't work so well, so I ended up switching to a piece of steel wool, and you can see all that nasty dirt and grime that's coming off of these. And I honestly self-cleaned my oven last weekend, so it just goes goes to show you that sometimes you actually do have to get in there with some elbow grease and manually scrub it all down. So just make sure that those are rinsed off, and then give your sink a little rinse down just to kind of get any of that burnt on nastiness out. But don't be too crazy about this right now because we will be coming back and cleaning our sink later on. And then before I put the racks back in, I'm just going to spray down with vinegar and water again, and just going to give it all a final wipe down just to make sure that I didn't miss any spots inside of my oven. Once my racks have dried, I'll throw them back into my oven and close that on up. And then I'll run myself a nice little bath for my burners, or my grates, whatever you call these things. The things that sit on top of your stove, I'm going to clean now with Crud Cutter. And I do flip these around a couple of times and rotate them since they're a little bit big for this sink. But I let those sit in there for a little bit, probably like 15 to 20 minutes. And while those soak, I will let my burners just dry, and I'll start working on my cabinets. Now I'm just using a rag, and I'm using vinegar and hot water that I made before, and I'm just really wiping down the tops of my cabinets, and I'm wiping down any spots that might have little grease stains on them or any kind of dust or anything that's built up on the outside of my cabinets. It's amazing how quickly these things get dirty, especially having white cabinets, if you guys can relate. And then I'll go inside of my microwave with that same rag, and I took out the little plate and the thing that the plate sits on, and I'll just take my rag with that hot water and vinegar and just really scrub everything down and make sure that it's all nice and clean. Now using that same rag, I'll just wipe down everything that goes inside my microwave, the little rack and then the glass tray. That all goes back in there, and then I'll spend some time wiping down the backs of my counters and then wiping down my backsplash, just all the areas that don't normally get cleaned on a day-to-day basis. And then I'll wipe underneath my TV, kind of clean off my TV screen. I love having a TV in my kitchen to watch shows while I cook and clean. And then I wipe down all of my remotes and anything that gets touched throughout the day. Now I'm going through my cabinets that have food in them, and I'm taking absolutely everything out and setting it on the counter below. And then I'm going to go through and make sure everything is still fresh, nothing's expired or old or kind of stale, you know how that goes. And then I'll take that same rag and wipe down all of my cabinets inside and out, wipe down the doors, kind of reorganize, go through my stuff, throw away what needs to be thrown away, and put everything back nice and organized. I'm like kind of a freak about labels facing forward and having everything just neat and clean, especially when it comes to where my food is going. I just don't want any mice or anything like that, or any bugs. And then I'm doing the same thing on my baking cabinet side, just taking down all my syrups and honeys and all my baking mixes. You'd be surprised when you wipe down your cabinets on the inside how much food buildup actually does end up in your cabinets, even if you do your best to keep them clean. So just wipe everything down, and again the inside of the door as well, and then put everything back once you've wiped it down. And if anything's kind of sticky, you can wipe it down at this point too. Burners are nice and soaked, I'm just going to take my sponge and give them a good scrub down front and back on both sides, getting all those cracks and crevices, and then rinse them both and let them dry on a towel before putting them back onto the stove. To reorganize my Tupperware drawer. As you all know, Tupperware is by far one of the most annoying things to keep organized, and this drawer just gets really bad, so I like to take everything out and then I'll just give it a quick little sweep with my miniature broom, and then using that same vinegar solution spray, just wiping that all down, and then restacking all of my Tupperware, making sure that they all have matching lids, and then stacking those lids up in there neatly. And just so much better when it's organized. And moving on to organizing my junk drawer. We all have a drawer like this at home, let's just be honest. So I like to start by just taking absolutely everything out of this drawer, and I cannot believe how bad junk drawers get so quickly. And if I don't do this every 2 weeks or so, it honestly gets worse than this, and no, that's crazy, but this is just our catch-all spot. So same thing, I'll just sweep that down with my miniature broom and then spray it all down, give it a nice clean on the inside. And then I also like to soak and clean my little drawer organizer using Crud Cutter. I do need to get a new one of these because this one's been a little bit dingy from the last couple years of using it. These just don't last forever, but while I still have it, I'll just keep it as clean as I can and just put the things that I need back in the drawer. I like to keep it pretty minimal and nice and organized, and then I'll put my remotes in there and shut that all down. And then I'm going to move right below that junk drawer is where I keep all of my bowls and my baking stuff and my pots and pans. And this is where we keep our toaster, which I know it's like the worst spot to put a toaster, but I don't really have a better place for it. And we use it every single morning, so it accumulates a ton of crumbs underneath. It just gets really nasty. As you can tell, there's tons of crumbs. So I like to take everything out of here, and then same thing, just sweep it all down, and then I like to wipe it all out on the inside as well. And then I will go through and reorganize all of my pots and pans, and this time I'll like to declutter. Sometimes there's pots and pans that I'm not using as much anymore, and I'll put those downstairs in storage or just put them in a different cabinet. I just like to keep what I use on a daily basis up here and keep it nice and simple and as organized as possible. Switch out my trash. I'm just going to take out the garbage from yesterday or from this morning and tie that up and take that out. And then before I put a new garbage bag in, I'm going to thoroughly rinse out my garbage can. I just think this thing gets so nasty if you don't keep up with it. And then once I have that rinsed out, I'm going to spray it down with my homemade bleach cleaner. If you guys want me to do a video, a separate video on my cleaning solutions that I like to make at home, let me know in the comments below and I can definitely put that up for you. But this is just a bleach solution that I like to use to really disinfect surfaces that can use it. And it's really good for deodorizing and getting off any yucky fingerprints and food stains. So I'll do the bottom of the garbage can and then put a new bag in, and then I'll really scrub down that lid too as well. It's honestly amazing how often I do this and how much just garbage and just yuckiness builds up on the outside of it. So that's why I love using this cleaner. I just feel like it does a really good job of getting everything off and making it nice and clean and sanitary. So I did give my books a quick dusting, and then I'm going to put them back on my counter now that I've wiped it all down. And then I did wipe down my knife block as well. And then I'm going to be cleaning the inside of my utensil holder. I'm just going to scrub this down with just soap and water and dry it all out before putting in my spoons and all of my other utensils. And then I like to just kind of put my counter back together again, put my little salt and pepper shakers up there too. And then I will wipe down Lola's treat jar. How cute is this? It's a Frenchie. I got this from Target last year, and we keep her treats in this for when she is a good doggy, and I did give her one if you're wondering. And then I'll put down all my burners, and then I'll put my stove back together again with all of my grates, and really just finish up this whole side of my kitchen before moving on to the other side. Start cleaning out my fridge by just taking everything out of my fridge and setting it on the kitchen table. I'll go through and make sure everything is still fresh, and then take anything that's extra that we're not using and put it in our backup fridge. And then I'll take on any leftovers that are maybe past their prime and get rid of those. And I'm left with this empty and dirty fridge, but it's okay, we're gonna wipe it all down. So just set everything that was inside of your fridge on your kitchen table, and then I like to take out all of my shelves and drawers and all of the drawers and doors from my door. Wow, that was a mouthful. And then spray everything down with that vinegar and hot water. Just make sure that you scrub it all down and get in all the little nooks and crannies, as well as all along the sides of the door as well. And then I'm just going to take hot soapy water and really rinse out and scrub down all of my drawers and shelves, and then put them back in the fridge once they're dry. Once I've gone through all my food and wiped down all of my containers cleaners, I'll put everything back in my neat and clean fridge and take everything down off the top of my fridge, set it on the counter, and then using that same vinegar solution, I'm just going to wipe down the whole top of my fridge and get in any of the upper cabinets that I may have missed the last time I cleaned. Now I'm just going to spray down the cabinets on this side, and I will go through these cabinets the next time I do my kitchen and wipe down where I put all my plates and cups, but for now I'm just going to wipe down the outsides, and then moving on to organizing the side of my fridge. I'm just taking any coupons or anything that we don't really need on there anymore and going to go through that, throw away what's junk and keep what's important. So I just like to neaten it all up, and then I will give it a really good spray. I absolutely love this cleaner from Pledge. This is a multi-surface. This works really well on my appliances. They're kind of like a stainless steel hybrid. They're called the Slate appliances from GE, and I absolutely love them. This is what the stove, dishwasher, and fridge are. But then I'll take the little water tray off of my fridge, and then Lola's food bowl and water bowl, and I'll throw those in the sink and give those a really nice scrub down. I'll also give the stand that Lola's food and water bowl sit in a really nice scrub down as well. I just like to kind of scrub every surface in my kitchen down, and then I dry those all, and then I will put that little tray back into the fridge door. And then I'll take my sponge and my pan scraper as well as the drain from the other side of my sink and put those in the dishwasher to run through and sanitize. And then I like to spray down my whole kitchen sink using that bleach solution I use on my garbage can. And I'll just go through with a sponge and really scrub down the inside of my sink as well as inside of my drain. And then I like to do up the sides of my sink and then do all the handles and all the knobs and just give it a really good cleaning because it got quite a workout today. Off any of Lola's extra harnesses and leashes and spray my kitchen table down with that Pledge multi-surface, and then I'll use a paper towel to wipe down the top of my table as well as dust the insides of my chairs. And then I like to take that paper towel and grab any extra pet hair that has gathered onto the bottom of my stools as well, and then I wipe down the bottom of my table, and then I Windex my huge glass door. I just love original Windex, something about it works so well. And then I pick up all of our shoes and move our garbage can before I go ahead and start sweeping my kitchen floor. I just like to sweep everything into a pile, and then I like to sprinkle baking soda onto our little rug by the back door. And I do like to go back over everything with my vacuum on the bare floor setting. I just feel like when you have a dog, it doesn't hurt to have an extra step of picking up all the extra dog hair. And then same thing with the rug. I'll just go through and vacuum up all of that baking soda. This just helps to kind of deodorize it a little bit and just keep it nice and fresh. And then I will move the rug and vacuum underneath the rug as well. Now I'm taking that same bowl of hot water and vinegar on a clean rag, and I'm just going to wipe down the bottom cabinets on the other side and use the same solution to really give my floors a nice scrub. I honestly feel like mops don't do anything, and I feel like the only way to get your kitchen floor, especially in the kitchen where you're cooking and there's grease, the best way to do this is on your hands and knees. There's just no way around it. But you gotta do what you gotta do, and this way your floors will come out sparkling. So I like to kind of rearrange my table, put my chairs back down, and then I will give my table one last little wipe down to get rid of any last little dirt or debris, and then I'll put my garbage can back, put Lola's food back on the ground, and I'm finally done. My kitchen looks awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in my next one.